Misbehaving. I don't ever even see the fuck here. Fuck out of here. Don't block her though, please. I love it all. What is up, guys? Welcome. What's up? What's up? What is good? Idaho4. Idaho4. What do we got? Well, let's see what we got here. We got a lot. First thing I want to point out is all right, guys, welcome. Sorry, I was looking at something. I shouldn't have two lives going. This should be the only one. Casey, what's good? This is the right one. Thank you so much, Miss LaDonna. Sent $40 for amazing work. Relentless, you are trying. All right, first of all, I want to tell everybody that I posted on my social post page. Eric Gower received a BS in recreation at the University of Idaho, as I said, and now he works full-time as an outreach assistant with that TRIO Inspired program in the College of Education, Health, and Human Services. Eric plans, designs, implements, and facilitates comprehensive programming for low-income first-generation high school students. Some of the programming includes an immersive experience in Portland, Seattle, California, Glacier National Park, Washington, D.C., New York, Boston, Nashville, and Huntsville. He has run a wide variety of curriculum, including core classes, math, science, literature, and supportive classes, service learning, projects, recreational opportunities, culture activities during the summer and throughout the academic year. In addition, he coordinates work-study students, volunteers, and interns. Eric is pursuing an MS Movement and Sciences degree, and his career goal is to become a director. I thought about who knows more about the cameras and where cameras would be located than a fucking a transportation dude. Talk about cameras. Who would know more about that than, so let's go like this. And somebody does transportation. Okay, Google Maps. Google Earth, actually. All right, so I'll show you guys a little something. Okay. Let's make this. You're on the right live. All right. Do you see, guys? You see that white building that's right in front of us right there? That's the 1125 Ridge Road camera. Okay. The left lane is if you were to be coming towards me. The right lane is if you were to be going towards the white building and away from it and towards the trees. Just so everybody knows, that's how that would look. Now, this is really, really important. I don't get why people aren't understanding this. And I don't mean here. You guys get it. I know you guys get it. Oh, what the heck just happened? What's going on? I'm just starting, so okay. Makes me do this all over again. Are you serious? Clarkson, what the fuck are we doing over here? Go down. Oh no. What is this thing doing? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So there's your white 1125. Camera is right in that. It was in that window right there. And see how it says Lauder right underneath there? Ridge. So Ashley Jennings places a car right basically here in the middle. Okay. She places the car right there in the middle and is saying that this vehicle is going to head back Ridge Road going this way. Okay. Now, does everybody see that at 401, if the camera is right here in this 108 apartment down here, right down the end, if I was to be coming this way, right, I would trigger that camera, would I not? And so I would be heading, coming from Willenta. But Ridge Road doesn't have it. That camera doesn't have it. Instead, Do you see where that car is that we see right here? That's basically where Ashley Jennings truly has this car coming from. Based on the, when I say Ashley Jennings, okay, the FBI is the ones that looked at the surveillance cameras. And what they determined that surveillance camera is saying is that a car basically right in front of us coming down like ridge like that, that's the, it's a white, it's consistent with being a white Honda Elantra. That's the picture that you guys have seen surface everywhere. Now, the argument for me is, and Anne and them have already made it, but Ashley just doesn't fucking get it, is Ashley, where did this white car come from? You said it was the 3:58 a.m. car that was over at the King Road area house. Like it's pulling out of there, but it doesn't come. So Ashley's saying that the car, she's saying this car right here, it came. You guys see this median? Watch this. We are like on top. Like, see how like you can't, it's, you're so high, like you're so high up over here. I went back to listen again. Now look over in that area. See over there, that's where like sororities and frats are. This is Taylor. Do you see this median right here? Again. Okay. Ashley Jennings is saying that this white car left out of 3:58, or I'm sorry, left at 3:58 a.m. and first did this. Come on. I think right there's that Linda Lane. Oops. Linda Lane. Camera's right there on Linda Lane if you go up it. This is the dumpster. Okay. This camera here is what has all eyes on, paying attention to if a vehicle is moving down over there. Then there's another camera for Linda Lane, and it does the loop-de-loop stuff. The only problem is that Linda Lane does not have a car coming on this road at 3:59 or 3:58. Instead, the FBI is saying that the car that left right up out of here, which is to get back into the King Road area, that's where you would go. It takes you, oops, went too far. I have to use my old shit, fucking A. Anyways, this is King, make a left there. But right here, the car that leaves at 3:58, it goes this way because 20 seconds later, just turns into a Lenta right here. You're right behind this house. It's right here on the left. A little bit more. Right here. And you can see through this when it's not all green and the trees don't have leaves and shit. Right here is where they can catch these headlights. And so what Ashley Jennings is telling, because she can't, the FBI is never going to testify to this. The FBI is going to testify to, hey, we're watching the cameras and we see headlights. Okay. We got the car leaving out and it goes left. So it's coming around here. It's consistent with the first set of headlights at 3:58 and whatever, so many seconds to 3:59 and however many seconds. Like it's consistent with a vehicle, that vehicle leaving. Then about a minute is going to go down where then another headlight is going to be seen coming back this way. And so what they write down is at 3:59 or 4 o'clock in the morning, we see a headlight, period. Okay. Like that's all that they can say is behind this from the 1112 we see a headlight. So what what Ashley Jennings is going to argue is going to be one of two things. She is saying that the car that left up out of here and left this way, somewhere back heading out of here, decides I'm going to do a U-turn. Okay? I'm going to do a U-turn. And I'm going to do a U-turn. And I'm going to come back down this way. Okay. And I'm going to come in here and go to the house. But then anybody that has a brain, right, is like, wait, that's not where the car's supposed to be yet, because it doesn't come there until 404. Oh, yeah, you're right. So check this out. So then this person then did not go back there. They drove back along here on Taylor. So they went, did a U-turn, turned back around, decided to continue then to go on Taylor. Then for whatever reason, the camera footage is clipped from Linda Lane. That's the band field right here, Sigma Chi over there. This is where all the shit happened. That's where they wrote the tickets out over here, right there at that fire hydrant. So then here at 401, see, there's Linda Lane. Keep on going. We're not seen on camera there, though. Look at that car right there. What's that car right there? Fucking Elantras are everywhere. Elantras everywhere. Keep going straight. And then right here, see where we're getting up to this median coming up the middle of the road here? Okay. This is what she's saying had to have happened. And then I literally heard her argument again. And then if this is where it would be at 401, and then decides to go this way. Because this is the only stretch right behind us right here that this is ridge. And then it turns into Alenta. What the fuck is this thing doing? This is not where it's supposed to take me, god damn it. Here we go. Goes up that hill on ridge right here. Okay. At this intersection right here, you have to go up this way. This is Walenta. But right here on the corner, see this house that's across the way? See Paradise Drive and Ridge? This is your house that has the cameras for 451 Paradise. And it's this big garage here. This is what they call the shop cam. And then over here they have the house cam because they have 2 cameras there. Now, once I heard Ashley Jennings give her little spiel, again, I listened to it like 50 times so I can make sure that I had this bitch down pat. She's completely lost her fucking mind. But everything she's going to say fails because it just does, it's way too much time. You can't go certain ways because of medians. But more importantly, then all of these cameras just wouldn't catch it. Let me make this bigger. Go back out. And for example, okay, I want to just orient yourselves. So this is Taylor, like this. I'm sorry, this is Taylor right here. So right here is the King Road house. Let's like put back in there. So when the vehicle leaves at 3:58 and comes out, the vehicle is seen going this way. Okay. Jennings is saying that either the car came down like this, down here, Valenta, all the way down, comes down here, comes down here, comes down like this, I'm Valenta still, and right here goes this way to come down, and that they did a test run, and that there's a chance that it could have missed putting the right here at the shop, that it could have missed the ring camera. Okay, and so it didn't catch it. But then I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Because when you come down here and you get to the Ridge Road white building, it's going to catch it as it's facing going this way. You have to come this way first before you can ever get like to be coming back down. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And we know that the camera shows that it came from this is why it says coming from south to then east. Because of this median, this vehicle, to try to pull this like U-ey off, it would have totally caught that just right here in this little area if you tried to do that. But if you try to just come up here, because I was like, oh, that it would have just turned around in one of these driveways. That's when I realized, I was like, oh, wait, put the brakes on. This has that median that's like so lopsided. So you would have to like come out, decide to turn around like in here, and then to come back down and around like that. And then go back that way. But what should be really, really interesting and should be telling to people is, where the fuck did Linda Lane 3:30 to 4:06 go? The time frame on the camera. How did that just get clipped? So I had an epiphany that I wanted to share with you guys when I saw Ashley Jennings's models. So I want to take this out for a second, and I want to go to this. And I said, I want to see if Ashley Jennings tried to pull a fast one, because she's the one that would have typed up, for example, it says 1122 King Road. It says 451 Paradise Drive, Moscow, Idaho. Well, that's just typed up. Like, anybody can just type this in. Okay? So she did in her motion. She's got Moscow, Idaho, to 1330 Linda Lane. And she's got, that's the other Linda Lane one. Okay, here. Let me make this. Okay. 1122 22 King Road, Moscow, 21125 Ridge Road. Okay? And this is where I'm saying that Ann Taylor, you better call this woman out. First of all, pumping this in like this is what came out. Okay. It has you coming out of Queen, King, this is Taylor, and going right. Going right. The FBI in the headlights have the car coming out, coming here, and going west on Taylor, and then this turns into Alonzo back here. So why would Ashley Jennings put in that one of her examples would be that the car's coming out and driving this way on Taylor to come down and be right here on Ridge Road? And that's when she tries to argue, and she's like, she puts fastest route in, and it's 0.4 miles, and it's 2 minutes. But this is not remotely what the fuck the data shows, meaning the surveillance cameras. There's surveillance cameras at 358 show that the headlights go west, and that's what the feds are going to testify to. Okay? The only person that's going to push the narrative that a car just, again, now you have different headlights because this goes this way, goes out, then this way, down, around, and it's going to have to turn around at some point, or when the car or a car is coming back this way and you see the headlights from this camera angle, all the feds say is that at 4 o'clock and 17 seconds or something like that, we have headlights here. And then it doesn't say that there's a car that comes in here or whatever, and it doesn't have the Linda Lane catching anything. Then the next thing that it talks about is just here, there's a vehicle. Okay? So I put together my argument for Ann Taylor. It's what one would have to assume for all of this to be true. Okay? Which, again, this goes to the motion of limines that you're hearing. And this would work the same way if it was like the defense trying to claim this. I'm just a simple, like, timeline. This is fucking crazy. You cannot just, voila, this is what happened, and the data doesn't show this at all. But I want to know who deleted that footage, and how I know that the feds didn't have Linda Lane is because the feds make no mention again to 1330 Linda Lane after the initial 330 passing or at 329 passing. It's never said again. Because what the feds are supposed to do is, if whatever video you're provided in surveillance, you're supposed to sit there with like a pad of paper and you're watching everything that's coming up on your screen. And so you'll press pause, then you would write down, okay, at this time, this is what happened. At this time, this is what happened. At this time, you're documenting everything. So I looked again at Ashley's little, this is when she flipped the fucking nuts out and went cray-cray. Okay. So this took me like a couple good hours to put this together. It is imperative that Ann Taylor, one of the motion lemonies is to not allow Detective Gilbertson testify to that, his so-called reenactment, where he is just like counting off numbers to see how long it would take for the murders to happen. And their argument is that it can happen within this time frame. Okay. So it is imperative, in my opinion, based on how this would all play out, because what you're arguing is and one of Ann Taylor's things is that the house doesn't even exist anymore. First of all, he's not even an expert, but he didn't turn anything over. And so let's see. So let me print off. Because you want all this stuff to stay in play if you're Ann Taylor. You want all these cameras in. You don't want to mess with anything like that. And she's not trying to. But this is all of it's speculation. It's insanity. So I printed this all up for you guys. You guys can. So when we get to, okay. Detective Gilbertson, Idaho State Police Detective. It's the crime scene reenactment expert. It's the state, he's one of the detectives in it. And the state wants to elicit expert testimony from Detective Gilbertson for the purposes to present Detective Gilbertson's expert opinion that the 4 student murders could have been committed within the time frame that the state alleges. Now, it's important to say, okay, just so we're clear, the time frame should be from 4:04 a.m. arriving into that area, 4:04, and with the departure of 4:20 and 37 seconds, right? That's what they're trying to say. I think that you need to argue that doing and using from 4:04 to 4:20, I think that you should have to back that up to 3:58. Why? Well, because that's the car, right? But then if that's the case, shouldn't they have to back it all the way up to 240? What do they say? 247? So my first argument, if I was Ann Taylor, is that you cannot argue this motion in limine, which is anything to do with Detective Gilbertson, before you argue the identification of the make and model motion limine. I would want it to be that we discuss the make and model motion limine before we talk about the crime scene and him being, first of all, he's not going to be considered an expert, but for purposes of the order, I think it matters. So with that said, you must jump over to the motion limine that has the make and model, because I believe it's very important, which leads to this reenactment of how long the crime would take. The reasons are what I think you should point out is that Ann needs to point out to Judge Hippler that based on FBI agent Imel's report, the following can be determined. So she wants Imel's report in. And remember, Ashley Fucktard here is misrepresenting shit. So you want to point out that, or at least find out, was Detective Imel from the FBI, the special agent, was he co-located or not? That matters. That Imel is not familiar with the area, right? He didn't do anything to do with pattern of driving or anything like that. He was specifically asked to, here's video, what's the make and model? Because in her argument, she keeps talking about travel, like patterns of travel, and that this car has to be that car, and she's lying. But you have to go about it in a way that Ashley Jennings mentioning Special Agent Imel's report has nothing to do with travel or anything. That Imel was not asked to link any vehicle to other vehicles as it pertained to determining any path of travel for said vehicle. That's not what he was asked to do. So why she's mentioning that in her fucking argument is fucking insanity. Based on Imel's report, the only question for Imel is what is the make and model based on the images and footage that was provided to him? So Imel only refers to the vehicle as questioned vehicle, not suspect vehicle. So Anne wants to make sure that, and she did, that we're referring to this as a questioned vehicle, not suspect vehicle. Anne gets Ashley Jennings to correct her own self in her reply to Anne, which is pretty awesome. Imel does not label any vehicle that he observed or opined on as being the suspect vehicle in his report. Ann Taylor got, like I said, Ms. Jennings to refer to it as the question vehicle. H is that Imel was asked to make an identification of a vehicle based on camera footage / screenshots that were not labeled in any capacity, as Imel labeled the footage he reviewed based on numbers and dates on when he received the footage and stills. Imel's report does not say that all of the videos and stills were commingled. Imel's report says that each day's camera footage stills, I'm going to grab the report here. That each Imel's report says that each day's camera footage / stills were viewed independently and then collectively, as in that specific date, not as collectively as like all the camera footage that he received, which Ashley Jennings tries to push. Okay. Then how this is known is because on each day that Imel is offered footage or stills, he has an independent opinion for that batch of film. And he makes that known and he writes it on that day. And I'm going to show you guys that. Someone other than Special Agent Imel from the FBI authored the PCA, as we learned in the previous proceedings, but yet she wants to keep referencing. The only person that keeps referencing this PCA is Ashley Jennings, and I'm going to show you guys. It's quite bizarre. So Special Agent Imel, he was not investigating the murders. Instead, he was only a consultant, and so therefore he was not provided any information other than clips / footage / stills of a questioned vehicle on a specific date that he received the footage from somebody. He doesn't know anything else other than that. And so here, this is straight from his report, and this is where Ashley Jennings is trying to twist this shit. And Anne's on it, but so the dates of the examination, the dates of this examination were November 19th through March 21st. And so what she does is Ashley Jennings then, he says, hey, go look at my opinion section. Okay. But she takes this quote right here. So see like the details of the examination. The multiple submissions of media were reviewed independently and collectively to identify the questioned vehicle's make, model, and year. This is how Imel puts it. Okay. But as you can see, he says, now go look at my opinion section to see how it's all broken down. And these were the date of the items received. And so he received items on November 19th, November 21st, November 23rd, December 7th, and December 20th. And he said, the items I received or submitted to me, this is how they were submitted. See how they're just labeled letters and then numbers like that? And so on 11/19, 5 MP4 videos, 2 WMV videos. See how it says depicting question vehicle, depicting question vehicle. He received it, this one. The only thing that he's ever mentioned was a balcony video as far as a nickname. Based on the dates and the reports, you're able to tell, and Ann knows that the balcony video is the 1112 King Road. But see, nothing's labeled other than just by the date that he received this batch. So then his opinions break it down based on the dates of the videos that were submitted. So then my argument continues as follows. Hold on. Again, Imel's report does not say that all of the videos and stills were commingled and compared all together. Nowhere in his report does it say that. Imel's report says that each day's camera footage / stills were viewed independently and then collectively from just that batch. Because as you will see, his opinions, see how it's opinions S? He actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opinions, and none of them say, after considering all of the stills or all of the video, blah, blah, blah. It's not what he does at all. But Ashley Jennings is a little fucking piece of shit. So here, the submitted videos on November 19th and November 21st were reviewed to determine the question vehicle's make, model, and year. Due to insufficient image detail and obscured views produced by the blooming of the vehicle's headlights, the make, model, and year could not be determined. Well, where did we get the blooming light from? Well, that's the 1112. And how did he nickname the one on the 21st? The balcony video. Now, what do we think then the 1119 would be? Well, what else could give you make the Linda Lane? Okay, because we know we got Ridge Road, and you're going to see where that comes into play. But it's November 23rd. So Linda Lane, both of them out. No vehicle was ever identified from Linda Lane. No vehicle was ever identified from 1112. And so her emotional limine is about, we want to make sure that we're clear on this. That Miss Ashley Jennings is not going to be eliciting testimony to try to say that this chart number 3 came from what she put in her report, which I'm about to show you guys. So what Ashley Jennings says in her report is this. I then showed this, which is, this is what the FBI put in a report, which is at 3:58 and 23 seconds. A vehicle matching the description of vehicle 1 travels west on Queen Road, then turns north onto King, and then headlights can be seen shining to the trees to the west, and it's leaving out the Taylor Avenue and heading west on Taylor Avenue, not east towards Ridge. Again, almost 30 some seconds later, headlights. It doesn't say that are consistent with anything. It's just, hey, we see headlights from the 1112 camera that's shining across from us. And now we have a car coming back. That's it heading south. And then at 4 o'clock and 14 seconds, we have headlights that are traveling now back north on Valenta. And then it skips over in the middle here. You should have Linda Lane having a vehicle's headlights or a car just like they had at 3:30. It's not there. You see that? But what they're trying to insinuate here is that the vehicle goes and leaves, somewhere does a U-E, comes back down, and then is going to do this at that point from this section right here. And does it go back in here? And then that's how it's going to be this car at 401. The big problem here is there should be on Linda Lane from 3:30 to 4:06. So we're missing a very crucial time to show headlights that would even be at that time. So of all the things that could possibly be missing, for Ashley Jennings to just say that it's not the FBI saying this. The FBI, you're never going to see them testify to this. They're just simply testifying to seeing headlights. Ashley Jennings wants to say that the car that left at 3:58 left up out of this way, at some point decided to turn the fuck around, come back down this way, then go this way, then come here, come down here, and then that's the car there on Ridge Road. And then just conveniently, Linda Lane, now let's say that they have it and they just took it out for all of us with the public, then you're going to have to explain why the feds don't have Linda Lane where they not provided it, which would mean, again, Ashley Jennings and the state withheld it to give to the fucking feds for them to actually put it in their, they're going to ask them, well, what did you guys get camera footage from Linda Lane between 3:30 and 4:05? No. Or well, what's that mean? Like how we just, you're going to have to ask how it was given to them. How do they know what they're looking at? So Ashley Jennings, during her oral arguments with the suppression motions on January 23rd, she said that no specific camera was stated in the probable cause when speaking about how the identification of suspect vehicle came about. It's straight out of her, so you're going to use that shit and blow it up here. Nor does Ashley argue that the identification didn't come from 1112 camera on January 25th or January of 2025. She let Hippler believe exactly what Megan Marshall was led to believe, that the 1112 camera was used to identify a make and model of that being a white Elantra. Ashley then wipes her forehead. Whew, we made it. Whew, we made it through without a Frank's hearing. We lied again. Whew. And then 2 months later, here in March, Ashley files this within the make and model motion in Limine. She files this. And I said, dude, this bitch has fucking some serious fucking balls. She refers to, she says, forensic examiner Anthony Imel reviewed multiple videos and still images. According to Imel's report, in quotes, the multiple submissions of media were reviewed independently and collectively to identify the questioned vehicle's make, model, and year, end quote. FBI report of Special Agent Anthony Imel attached as State's Exhibit 4. Of those videos, The 111 or the 1125 Ridge Road video provided a clear view of the suspect vehicle. Make model chart number 3 attached as exhibit S5. She then says Imel was able to compare this video to the video from 1112 King Road. That is nowhere in his fucking report. Nowhere. But do you see what she writes here? Says ID. Do you know what she's referring to when she says that? This is so good. Like, and you have her. And you have her by the balls. Does anybody know what she means when she says ID? Okay. Do you see above here where she says Payne affidavit at page 7? What you can do when you are citing things as a lawyer is if you've already stated it right up above it, you can use ID if it was the last thing that you just identified. Yes, it's the PCA. So she fucking is, thank you for being such a fuck. She then says that this sentence, this Imel was able to compare this video to the video from 1112 King Road ID. She's taking that from the probable cause affidavit. The probable cause affidavit, which she fucking is a lie, right? So now she's admitting that she lied in the probable cause affidavit by even doing this, or but what she thinks is she's like, no, I'm gonna write this in here, and it's like, hey, dude, I'm not really saying it. But it's from the PCA. Okay. Just so we're clear, I then went like through the PCA like a crazy person to find this exact, Imel was able to compare this video to the video from 1112 King Road. This video was captured at 4:01 a.m. Now remember, she just told the judge that we did not identify. They take issue with the 1125 picture because remember when she's fucking just doing her fucking bullshit? So she says this video was captured at 4:01 a.m., approximately 3 minutes prior to the suspect vehicle entering the crime scene at 4:04 a.m. And so she's just dropping this vehicle there at 4:01 a.m. Then she's like saying now, Hill's report at page 8 and 9. Regarding the quote unquote question vehicle, so she switches up her tune here and gets her to do that. The vehicle on the 1112 King Road surveillance, Imel's opinion is, and she fucking puts this in here. She says that his opinion is this, that the question vehicle shares similar characteristics with a 5th generation Honda Elantra between 2014 and 2016. The similar class characteristics include but are not limited, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, she must have lost her mind. So Ashley Jennings completely misrepresents Special Agent Imel's entire report, which makes sense because they misinterpreted his report prior to typing up the PC affidavit. But did they truly misinterpret it, or did they say we can get around this because he wrote his report up like this? The first error is in the interpretation of Imel's report. So what's interesting to me is that if Ashley Jennings didn't write the PCA and had nothing to do with the probable cause affidavit, okay, then it's interesting that the person that actually authored the PCA thinks exactly like Ashley Jennings, because this same error was made at the time of the probable cause being authored. Jennings' identical ideology of Imel's report that is written in this motion limine responds, it mirrors what is written out in the PCA. The state is misleading the court when it incorrectly states that Imel compared videos that weren't from the same date and batch. That is a fucking lie. And so Ashley Jennings is taking something from the probable cause that's actually a lie, because now we have a fucking report. And you can look at these 3 pages, and nowhere in them does he ever say that I'm comparing vehicles. He never says that. When Imel states that he reviewed the media footage both independently and collectively, it is in reference to each specific date of submitted video/stills. So, for example, all the videos and stills from November 19th, they were reviewed independently, all the little clips. Anything that you, like right here, you sent 7 MP4s. So I looked at MP4 number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of those independently. Then I looked at the 2, what else did you send? Okay, so then I looked at them collectively. Then on this day, 5 MP4 videos and 2 WMV videos were depicting questioned vehicle received electronically on this day, examined. Where does it say that I took the videos on this day and the videos on this day and compared them? It doesn't. Nowhere. Nowhere. But here, Ashley Jennings says Imel was able to compare this video on Ridge Road to the video from 1112 King Road. He never does it. That is not in his report what the fuck soever. So, for example, like I said, all videos and stills on November 19th, they were reviewed independently and then collectively. No sufficient footage/stills could be opined on. Same then with the November 21st. Thank you. Yeah. The state, second error. The state is quoted independent and collectively from a paragraph that is not within the opinion section of the report. This quote is then misplaced and so therefore misleading the court. So Anne needs to point that out, that when she's talking about reviewing these videos, dude, he never said that he reviewed all of the videos as a whole. Because I can prove it. Here it comes. Imel offers multiple opinions, but only one opinion per day/date/batch. So when he go to this, these are his opinions. These are his only opinions. The submitted videos on November 23rd, the only time that he opines on something. The November 23rd, that's the Ridge Road cameras, were reviewed to determine the questioned vehicle's make, model, and year. The questioned vehicle shares similar class characteristics with a 5th generation Honda Elantra between 2011 and 2013. The similar class characteristics include, but not limited to, the overall body shape, windows, everything. Then, see up here, then the next one. The submitted video retrieved on December 7th was reviewed to determine the questioned vehicle's make, model. Due to insufficient image detail, the videos or the vehicle's make, model, and year cannot be determined. The submitted video and images on December 20th were reviewed to determine the question vehicle's make, model, and year. The question vehicle shares similar class characteristics with a fifth generation, that's the 2014 and 2016. Anywhere right there in that section, do you see where it says that it compared November 19th's videos to November 23rd's videos? No. Ashley Jennings is telling the courts, just like the PCA told the courts, that they were that they used. So this is how I would word it in an argument. Imel offers multiple opinions, but only one opinion per day, the date, the batch of videos. And no opinions are a crossover from comparing different dated footage to other dated footage. Imel received the videos with random letters and numbers. And so therefore, that is how he referred to them in his report, highlighting the date that each batch was received and examined. Common sense and logic were ignored by the state, and so their argument lacks logic and common sense. Only one video is referred to by a nickname, quote unquote, balcony camera. Common sense would tell us that the balcony video is the camera at the residence of 1112 King Road, immediately next to the crime scene. Imel clearly states that November 19th and November 21st, whatever videos were on those days, they were insufficient to render an opinion. One of those being the balcony camera due to the blooming headlights. Based on the dates of the collection from discovery, the other camera with the 19th and the 21st, so you got 112, that's out. He can't render any opinion on that. The other one being based on the discovery dates of collection is Linda Lane. This footage is the second closest to the crime scene property out of all the cameras in this case, which is 0.2 miles away. Imel offers no opinion anywhere in his report where he says, quote unquote, after looking at all of the videos submitted to date and comparing them as a whole, that it is my expert opinion that all of these videos are the same vehicle and that they're from this year to this year. So for Ashley Jennings to think that she can walk into the courtroom and misinterpret, not once, but now twice, Imel's report, and to try to mislead not only the judge, but now she's going to try to mislead the jurors into thinking, because to use this in an opening statement, and say, you're going to have FBI agents in here, and they're going to show you, and then fucking talk this mess. It is obvious. Or I'm sorry. Another error. Imel does not rely on what is missing in one video or still to be made up in a different video or still from another date. You see nowhere in his expert opinion that he is then trying to fill in missing pieces of the 1112 blooming headlight car to then still be able to opine on that vehicle's make and model. That'd be absurd. You would never do that. Okay? But I would put that sentence in there because it's hysterical. Missing pieces of, it is obvious by the argument within this motion that the person who wrote this motion was the same that authored the goddamn portion of that Imel's opinions within the probable cause affidavit. That's what it tells me. Because it's the same fucking bullshit. The mindset. The state's argument must fail for the simple fact that the state is confused and therefore misinterpreted Imel's report and relied on unfounded conclusions to Magistrate Marshall, and then again here to Hippler. This doesn't mean that we don't want any of these cameras. We are asking for a motion in limine to limit this bitch and what the fuck she can say. That's not true. As a result, we asked the state not elicit false testimony from Special Agent Imel, and that the only report that Imel may testify to are to the opinions rendered within this 3-page report. The 1112 King Road camera was never identified as being a white Honda Elantra. Ever. Never motherfucking once. That Imel not referred to any vehicle that he identified or looked at as the suspect vehicle, but instead it was the questioned vehicle, as his report indicates. And that Imel is not to testify to any quote-unquote path of travel of any vehicle, as that falls outside of the scope of his expert opinion based on his expert report, based on the information that he was provided. He wasn't asked to do that. There's no report of him talking about path of travel, because Ashley Jennings keeps on talking about that we're going to have investigators come up in this motherfucker and talk about path of goddamn travel, and that these vehicles are traveling, or this vehicle, and it's all speculation. All of it is. Any other testimony would be that of opinions that were not disclosed prior to this court's case management order. Otherwise, it would violate Brian's constitutional due process rights as set forth in our motion. There is not a single vehicle that is identified by a license plate recorder, nothing. No camera, nothing to do with the license plate. There's not a single vehicle that has a person in it. Also, Jennings just simply talks about this chart number 3. Well, in Imel's report, he has 7 charts. Now, the catch-22 to this is, now we get back to Detective Gilbertson and what he wants to testify to. Because I want Gilbertson, in a way, to testify that he thinks that this crime couldn't have happened between this time and this time. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, wait a second. How are they even going to talk in those? Like, let me tell you what this means. This means that Detective Gilbertson, and the state thinks that this is okay, is that he's going to get up on the stand and Detective Gilbertson's experiment must consider the following. Number 1, Detective Gilbertson would first start to testify that the car that left at 3:58 a.m. is the same car that was seen on 1125 Ridge Road at 4:01 a.m., heading the wrong way due to no camera that's coming from the southeast direction of Lauder versus on Taylor, all the things that we've ever talked about. Or do they just think that they're just going to solicit? Where are you going to start? Where are you going to start? Where are you going to start at? Because you're almost going to be blowing off your foot if you think that, well, we're just going to be starting with that 4:04 when the car's coming in. 4:04 when the car's coming in. Yep, that's the time frame we're starting. Why? Because that's basically making everything else before that irrelevant then. You're answering your own, like, you're making it irrelevant, anything before that. But you need everything before that because that's how you're saying that Brian got over here. So, okay. So there's no camera that catches any car between 1122 King Road and 1125 Ridge Road, where the state just has a white car appearing on a video and thinks that Detective Gilbertson and or Hill or Imel will be able to just testify as an expert to the path of travel of that questioned vehicle. It is all speculation. So then you think that you're going to testify to what then? Well, just like how long it would take once you get to the house. Well, what time did anybody get in the house? Well, just whatever time it would be, like, this is just what we're going to testify to. Because my issue with that is that so Detective Gilbertson would have to start his expert testimony at 4:04 a.m. And from the 1112 cameras with that vehicle entering the neighborhood that has the blooming, actually, we haven't seen that one. With the vehicle, it's impossible because it's speculation based, so it's just entering here at 4:04. Okay, it's on that camera. Then Detective Gilbertson would testify to the headlights on Linda Lane. Then Detective Gilbertson would testify to 1112 King Road cameras catching the headlights reflecting off of the 119 King Road house, showing that the same car is coming towards the intersection of King and Queen Road, where it turns around in the middle and heads back past the residence. It tries to park, then again using Linda Lane, showing a 3-point turn, and then it is the same vehicle due to 1112 showing no other cars coming onto the street and at that time. Let's hope it's not a motion-activated camera or we're really all fucked up. But then Detective Gilbertson is going to testify based on his training and experience, versus common sense, but training and experience, that since that car didn't leave the area, as it has not been seen on 112 camera, it had to have parked. And then the person that would have been in that vehicle must have been the person that parked it. And then that person that actually parked it then went into the home of 1122 King Road versus any other apartment or house in the area. Again, this is all speculation. The driver of the car must have been the person that went into the, like I said, the house. And when does all of that happen? How long did it take him to go get into the house? Okay, what, 4:08? And now the clock starts. What training and experience could possibly allow you to speculate to all of those things that would have had to happen? That, but we just started a timer to see how long it would take to go to all of these rooms. Because wouldn't it have taken into consideration how many stab wounds would be on each victim? So this is why Ann Taylor asked for, hey, where's your, report that you wrote up all of this shit that you did for this experiment? If you think you're going to be testifying to that this could be done. And then at the end, how about this one? This is what just kills me is, a car is up and seen leaving, right? Just at 4:20. All right, 4:20 and however many seconds. You then are speculating to the fact that the person that left, or that this car is in fact the car that was spinning around. How do you testify to that as an expert? How wild is that? You guys notice that in every single motion, they've really heavily relied on everything that Dylan has said to set this timing in these text messages. The DM reported law enforcement she was woken up around 4 a.m. by noises. See where it says ID at 4. Why do they keep bringing up the probable cause affidavit, right? Why do they keep bringing this up? Well, because it's still in good standings, right? What do you mean by that? Well, this is how she wants to get in the state's response to defendant's motion in limine number 12, make, model of suspect vehicle. And I have no idea what Ashley thought Ann Taylor was saying that she was trying to prevent. But whatever she got herself in a tiz was about. I went back and looked at this again. Investigators canvassed the crime scene area for surveillance footage to identify the person responsible for the homicides. ID at page 5. You see how she says ID at page 5? Well, watch what she does here a little lower. She won't write what page it's at for certain things. A surviving roommate, DM, reported to law enforcement. She was woken up around 4 a.m. by noises. ID at page 4. Investigators were able to obtain surveillance footage from 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of the crime scene. ID. The video surveillance picked up audio of voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. ID. Again, PCA. In addition, a dog can be heard barking at 4:17 a.m. ID. DM reported around this time she saw an unknown male in the residence walking towards the rear exit of the residence. ID. At page 4 and 5. The 1112 King Road video shows a white sedan entering the crime scene at 4:04 a.m. Does it? You see how she says ID at 6? This same white sedan is seen departing the crime scene area at 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. I disagree. You don't even know what car is departing. You guys have seen the picture. I said this footage is completely unrecognizable. But what does she think the argument is here? Based on this information, investigators focused on identifying the make and model of the white sedan. Hereafter, suspect or questioned vehicle. I had to laugh because that's Ann Taylor saying, boom, that's never once been to the FBI a suspect vehicle. Never once. The suspect vehicle is seen on the 1112 King Road surveillance prior to the homicides. The suspect vehicle makes 3 initial passes by crime scene before entering a 4th and final time. 3:30, 3:33, 3:38, 3:40, 3:56, 3:58, and 4:04. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? That's it. Coming and then leaving. Coming and then leaving. Coming and then leaving. And then coming. Video surveillance captures the suspect vehicle was collected at additional places near the crime scene prior to the homicides. What are you talking about, Ashley? You did not identify this vehicle from that camera. You can't even tell what kind of car it is because that's what the feds said. They said nothing from 1112 King Road is fucking identifiable. You understand that? And then so basically it's like you identified a car at 4:01 that you were then just saying is the same car from earlier, like that was at 3:26 on Indian Hills. That's at this time. How can you just fucking say all this shit? Go on Google Maps. You pass a white fucking sedan every other car. So in this, the make, model, do you understand that Imel was never provided any of this shit? It's supposed to be about the identification of the car. And where she's going with this is the video surveillance capturing the suspect vehicle was collected at additional places near the crime scene. Wait, what does that sentence say? Video surveillance capturing the suspect vehicle was collected at additional places near the crime scene, making it seem like we identified this from 1112 King Road And then we saw what we identified at 112 King Road at these other places. That's not the case. And that needs to be the argument. I know that's what the fuck y'all have been telling the world and lying about. But now we finally have these reports that show completely the opposite shit. Rob Hill's pages is attached as a state exhibit. Google Maps, 5 pages attached as states exhibit S3. Investigators, look at this. Investigators were able to review those videos and determine the route of travel. Who the fuck did that? ID. So she's talking about the PCA. So do you know who she's relying on then to testify to that? You guys ready? Payne! Mallory! None of these FBI guys. None of these FBI guys. That's not what they did. Nobody from the FBI in an expert capacity did any of this shit. What did she talk about path of travel for a vehicle? That's not what Imel did. Imel doesn't even know where these fucking cameras are from. He's referring to them as dates that you gave me, and this is what it is. And here, I'm like, what is she referring? Where's the page number on that? Out of the probable cause. So she said investigators were able to review those videos and determine the route of travel. So who's going to be the people that are going to be testifying to this in trial, guys? It is not the feds. Okay? It is nobody from the FBI that's going to be testifying to this. Because there's not a single, Hill's report's going to say what? He can't testify and say that, yeah, I believe that car fucking turned around and came this way. And now the headlights that we just saw there, yeah. Where's the DoorDash? And then, wait, why didn't Linda Lane catch it before it got onto, was it 1125 Ridge Road? I don't know why Linda, we only had footage from this time. You didn't have any footage from Linda. They didn't ask you. It's going to be amazing, but that's not who's going to be testifying to this. Investigators provided video footage to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Yeah, to determine the year, the make, and the model. Look at this. Of the suspect vehicle on the 1112 King Road surveillance. Look at this girl. Ashley Jennings says investigators provided video footage to the Federal Bureau of Investigation to determine the year, make, and model of the suspect vehicle on 11. And what did they tell you? What did they tell you? Forensic examiner Anthony Imel reviewed multiple videos and still images. According to Imel's report, the multiple submissions of media were reviewed independently and collectively to identify the questioned vehicle's make, model, and year. You guys, there was a questioned vehicle for each fucking day. He referred to November 19th's questioned vehicle. This is my opinion. It's insufficient. November 21st, questioned vehicle. It's insufficient. November 23rd, that's the Ridge Road, and there was 7 charts. So think about it. How would you read, if you were reading this at home, without me breaking it all the way down with, here's his fucking opinions. His opinions are that no footage that you gave me from 1112 could fucking render a goddamn thing. And that's why Ann Taylor and them were asking way back when is we're still unclear why they were looking for a white Honda Elantra. We still don't understand why it wouldn't be a Camry or a Honda Accord or a BMW. FBI report of Special Agent Imel. This is what I cut and copied for you guys. Look at her. Of those videos, the 1125 Ridge Road video provided a clear view of the suspect vehicle. Of what videos? Of what? What are you talking about? In that statement, you're making it seem like all of those videos are of the same vehicle. Who has said that? You all have said that. Not an expert, because an expert was never asked on that. An expert was never asked, do you think that these are all the same vehicle? And they didn't ask something, because guess what the answer would have been? No, there's no identifying marks. We don't have a license plate. I have no idea if they're all the same vehicle. The person identified these vehicles from these still images had no fucking clue where these cameras were. And then she lies and she says, Imel was able to compare this video to the video from 1112 King Road. Do you see where it says ID? Remember, I was like, well, where? All these other things say ID at this page, ID at this page. Well, where the fuck is this page at? Oh, wait, it's right. It's just an Ashley fucking original, isn't it? This video was captured at 4:01 a.m. And compared to what? What'd you compare it to? Do you understand? They're going to have a field day when Ann Taylor says, Special Agent Imel, did you ever compare the video footage that you had on November 19th to the video footage from December 20th? No. You didn't? Why not? What do you mean compare it? Whatever batch that they gave me on that day is what I looked at. So I don't know when you're saying whatever videos they gave me on November 19th. I looked at those independently and then collectively. What were you told that they were from the same spot? Yeah, it's all from the same. These are still images, and then the MP4s were, I was told that they were all the same video. So Imel was able to compare. So if the courts, or if Miss Jennings said that you compared the Ridge Road video to the 1112 King Road, she'd be mistaken, right? Yeah, she would. Yeah, she would. We never did that. I never compared any videos to any videos. It was whatever day of the week that was sent to me at that batch on that day, whatever was sent to me, these were what was sent to me. And from these videos on that day, I had an opinion. Then they sent me a different, whatever was on that day. And then I had, and I had an opinion. Some opinions were that it was insufficient. Like mind blowing. So right here where it says that Hill's report, page 8 and 9 was this, but right here, regarding the questioned vehicle, the vehicle on the 1112 King Road surveillance, it says Imel's opinion is this. Is that accurate? No, that's not accurate. I didn't have an opinion. What's the one? First of all, I was going to say, what's the 1112 King Road surveillance video? I don't even know what that is. Oh, this isn't how you provided things? No. I have no idea what 1112 King Road surveillance means. Well, what do you mean? Well, as you can see my report here, HQQ this on 11/21/2022, it was 7 MP4, and I just remember that this was from a balcony. So nowhere in your report do you have anything listed as 1112 King Road. No, I don't. So on the submitted video on November 23rd, you reviewed that to determine that the questioned vehicle's make, model, and year. The questioned vehicle shares similar class characteristics with a fifth generation Honda Elantra between 2011 to 2013. The similar class characteristics include, and then you listed some things. I have a question here. The next sentence, what's up there, Truth Uncensored? My question here is, on November 26th, it says, after reviewing expanded known information to include the rear bumper reflector and the shape of the front fog lights on the Hyundai Elantra, the questioned vehicle's year was expanded to the fifth generation between 2011 and 2016. And that would be still off of the video from November 23rd, 2022. Is that correct? Yes. So you never were provided a video. Well, let me back that up. In your report, do you compare 1112 King Road? Anywhere on there, does it say that you have a video titled 1112 King Road? Nope, it doesn't. And so you never compared a video titled 1112 King Road, whatever, to any other video. No, I this is how I did it. You guys understand, like, it's what's in the report. And Ashley Jennings is a fucking liar. She's a damn liar. So these are your only opinions, right? Whatever was submitted to you on this day. Now, what was submitted to you, do you even know where they were, like, where these videos were from? Well, I can just tell you that whatever they gave me on November 19th, all of that stuff, I couldn't determine anything. It was insufficient. Then whatever they gave me on November 21st, it was insufficient. But I remember that on November 21st, the headlights, it was from a balcony view, and the headlights were blooming. And December 7th, insufficient, right? And then December 20th, do you know where those videos were from? WSU. So the only videos that you identified on December 20th in your report, it was 2014, 2016. Do you know what state those videos were from? Like, this is absurd. Absurd. Ashley Jennings is... So she says right here, though, that regarding the questioned vehicle, the vehicle on the 1112 King Road surveillance, Imel's opinion is this. And that's a fucking lie. He never says that. That is nowhere in his report. None. And I said, oh my God. She's like, Imel's report at page 2 and 3. Like, that's where she's getting this from. And this is page 1, which just tells you the videos and what it was. And that's your page 2, the opinions. And he says, I refer to my opinion section if you want to know about anything. But why would we, I mean, Then, a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra was registered to the defendant at the time of the homicides. It was also registered to 22,000 people. But more importantly, I think it's even going to be more than that. But more importantly, that's not the vehicle that was determined by this person for 1112 King Road. That vehicle was determined on WSU's camera on December 20th. This is so important. Like this is you want him to testify. And so Aunt Taylor's not taking his testimony out, nothing like that. It is simply, we got to put Ashley Jennings on a fucking leash. Because she just spouts off at her mouth and misstates fucking reports left and right. Ashley! Argument. The state expert regarding vehicle identification, Anthony Imel, should be allowed to explain to the jury his opinion that the suspect vehicle on the 1112 King Road surveillance shares similar class characteristics to a fifth-generation Hyundai Elantra between 2014 and 2015. What the fuck? This is seen as what the fuck translation services. You want to do what, Ashley? The state's expert regarding vehicle. You want him to do what? No, he's going to stay, ready? He's over here going to be like, no, what I said shared characteristics with that is the Ridge Road video. I couldn't determine anything from the blooming lights of 1112. That balcony camera, I couldn't do it. And he never calls it a suspect vehicle. The suspect vehicle, look at her, was identified from surveillance footage from the area of the crime scene. The area of the crime scene is 1112. That's the area of the crime scene. The defendant claims that the suspect vehicle was not identified from surveillance footage in the area. The reason that they did it like that is because the footer, Ashley, at the bottom said there was a footnote attached, and it said, what we're considering in the area is 1112 King Road. What does Ashley Jennings do? Ignores the motherfucking footnote and lies to the courts. This is simply not true, she says. As stated in Imel's report, multiple submissions of media were reviewed independently and collectively to identify the suspect or the questioned vehicle's make, model, and year. I'm wondering, do you guys think that this girl is this dumb or is this shitty, like as a human? Is she just a gaslighting fucker? Because this is all, she's gaslighting. Where in Imel's report that has any opinions? Here, this is his opinions. This is simply not true. As stated in Imel's report, multiple submissions of media were reviewed independently and collectively to identify the questioned vehicle's make, model, and year. Yeah, per batch. The suspect vehicle was picked up on multiple occasions, at least 6 separate locations. Do you guys see how she is just saying that that vehicle is all the same vehicle? Imel doesn't say that. Imel has no idea what you're talking about. The argument is that nowhere in Imel's report does he say that he looked at all of these videos collectively, Ashley, and opined that they were all the same fucking vehicle. Here's his opinions, you fucking kook. And I love how you quote, though, that you're using the PCA because you're proving that you lied in the PCA because you interpreted it incorrectly. And that's my lawyer way of putting it to you kindly. They destroyed this motion. The suspect vehicle was picked up on multiple occasions, at least 6 separate locations. The video captured footage in the middle of the night from approximately 3:35 a.m. to 4:07. Then ding, 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 it went off in my head. 3:35 to 4:07. The video capture footage in the middle of the night from approximately 3:35 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. when there is a light vehicle traffic. Do you know what 3:35 a.m. is to until 4:07? The videos that she's speaking of capture footage in the middle of the night from approximately 3:35 a.m. to 4:07. Fuck, that's the time that we need the Linda Lane that's missing. 3:35 a.m. to 4:07 is missing. Yep. Why wouldn't Ashley Jennings put down 3:26 because you have to get over there in Indian Trails? From the review of the surveillance videos, ready? Mark B, what's up? Ready? She's giving us a nugget here. From the review of the surveillance videos, investigators were able to determine the suspect vehicle's path of travel based on the witnessed direction of travel associated with the timestamps. From the review of the 1125 Ridge Road video, which admittedly provides the best view. It's the only view. It's not the best, bitch. Admittedly, it's just the best view of the suspect vehicle. Investigators were able to determine that the suspect vehicle shared similar class characteristics to a 5th generation Hyundai Elantra. Spit it out, Ashley, and say, yeah. So now in the same document that just 2 months prior to, she's not admitting to the courts that they used the Ridge Road to identify the suspect vehicle. She let Judge Hitler believe that the identification was not from that. This video was taken at 4:01 a.m., approximately 0.3 miles from the crime scene. Investigators can determine the suspect's path of travel as follows. So at 4:01, it takes approximately 3 minutes to travel from 1125 Ridge Road to 1112 King Road. A logical application means the vehicle with characteristics of a 5th generation Hyundai Elantra is the same vehicle on the 1112 King Road camera at 4:04 a.m. This same line of reasoning can can be applied to other surveillance videos. And she's just completely lost her mind. Well, then why doesn't the 451 Paradise have the vehicle? So when it's coming this way at 401 and going up and around, the Paradise video camera has been catching it. Why wouldn't it catch it here this time? And in oral arguments, when I went back and listened, she was saying, well, we talked to one of the investors and we did it was that, yeah, it could miss it because, and she tried to just scribble herself out of that. So we're just supposed to apply good old Ashley's reasoning here. She's saying that the state's expert should be able to opine based on his analysis and the surrounding circumstances. Dude, I want to know, in somebody's report, they're supposed to say what they were provided with. And all this guy was provided with in his report is, here you go. I received these items, videos on these days. It says, this report will only cover the following items. That's it. And she's over here saying that she wants the state's expert should be able to opine based on his analysis and the surrounding circumstances that the surveillance is picking up the same suspect vehicle. Why should he be able to opine that? He never once opined that in any of his reports. What is she talking about? The state's expert. She's not saying fucking pain. There's no such thing as an expert opinion on the fact that how can speculation be an expert opinion? Mind blowing there, right there. Experts' opinions would be like, here's all the possibilities. And then you can't rule these things out because, well, hey, wouldn't if the car was traveling that way and had to go this way, wouldn't it be seen on this camera on 451 Paradise? Well, yeah, but it's motion activated, so it could also miss it. Okay. Well, how about when it got over to this area to begin with? Wouldn't it have come on Taylor, and so it missed Linda Lane then as well? So on this last loop, you're saying that this car turned around, then missed Linda Lane, then missed 451 Paradise. All of that had to have happened for it to be the car. But all the other times that you're saying it's doing this stuff, it's all catching it. And she's like, there does not need to be continuous footage for this evidence to be admissible. What evidence? You guys, I have to laugh. This whole motion that Anne submitted is about the make and model and about a report. This is not about the path of travel of anything. I don't understand what she doesn't understand. The defendant argues that there is no continuous footage linking the vehicle at the 1112 King Road footage, and that from Ridge Road, defendant's motion at page 3, defendant's argument appears to suggest that because every single business and residence surrounding the crime scene did not have a video surveillance, the state should be precluded from introducing this evidence. That's not what she's saying at all. Ashley, girl, she just can't interpret. I mean, her reading comprehension sucks. She's like, this is illogical. So what would you like, Ashley? What do you think should happen? As argued above, the state should be able to introduce all captured video surveillance surrounding the crime scene preceding the homicides. No shit. Introduce whatever you want. Introduce as much fucking camera footage as you want, Ashley. But you're not going to be eliciting testimony that's not in expert reports as expert testimony. The state's expert should be able to opine based on his analysis and the surrounding circumstances that the surveillance is picking up the same suspect vehicle, which he identified as sharing the same characteristics as a 2014-2015 fifth generation Hyundai Elantra. Ashley, you are on crack. This opinion would not be speculative as argued. The fuck it isn't. But instead, based on logical, educated inferences from review of the surveillance video, including observed traffic flow. You guys. Wait a second. Where in anybody's report, in making a determination of the make and model of a car, what the fuck does that have to do? You provided video footage. The guy told you some of the footage could be fucking seen and some of it couldn't. He did not compare and contrast different things, because guess what? You wouldn't want him to do that, because he would have been like, are you kidding me? That's not what we do. That's not what we're doing here. Ashley is high on her own supply is right. I'm just going to have some fun here. Ashley. Well, it's your answer. Well, it's your fucking answer, Ashley. But instead, based on logic, I can't even, from review of the surveillance videos, including observed traffic flow, direction of travel, and timestamps, the identification of the suspect vehicle is relevant and admissible. You're the only person, you and Detective Payne and Mowry are calling the vehicle, the suspect vehicle. So you can testify that, Ashley, but no expert put in any, at least not Imel. I haven't seen a report. As the court has seen in the defendant's other filings, the defendant tends to label bad evidence for the defendant as irrelevant and asks this court to prohibit the state from introducing it. That is not the rule. Under Idaho Rule of Evidence 401, evidence is relevant if it has the tendency to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without the evidence, and the fact is of consequence in determining the action. This evidence is clearly relevant as the defendant owned a 2015 white Honda Elantra at the time of the homicides. Let me ask you a question, Ashley, based on your logic. Okay, based on your logic, would it not be relevant then if he didn't own a white Honda Elantra? Because it wouldn't change the expert opinion, right? So what the fuck does that have to do with it then? No, Ashley, introduce all of this shit. And Taylor just wants to make sure that we're on the same page as everybody here, that the Special Agent Imel is only going to be testifying to his report. Is that what we're all kosher with here? And Agent Imel, Special Agent Imel, never once talked about no path of fucking travel, no that this fucking traffic flow, and what is she smoking? The defendant argues pursuant to blah, blah. The state anticipates Mr. Imel will testify in accordance with his expert opinion at trial. And what is that? His expert opinion has nothing to do with the path of travel. And his expert opinion never compared the 1112 King Road house to anything. He did not compare cameras that you provided on different days and mashed them all up together and started like playing connect the dots and missing parts and let's just fuck shit. The state anticipates other state witnesses will refer to the vehicle identified on surveillance footage as a white sedan or like language. So she's saying that, hey, he's the only one that's going to call it an Elantra. Everybody else is going to call it a white sedan. That's not the argument. Actually, you're not going to call the 1112 King Road car anything than a white car, I guess you could say. Thank you. He's looking at you, she's like, you guys, this expert's the only one that's going to call it an Elantra. Everybody else is just calling it a sedan. So everything's fine. The jury, the fact finder, should be able to hear Mr. Imel's opinion regarding the make and model of the suspect vehicle. The suspect vehicle, weigh this information with other testimony or evidence admitted. Yeah, they can do all that. But they're going to hear his actual report. They're going to hear his methodology. They're going to hear what he was provided. You know, the way that you lump this all up in a bow is absolutely absurd, Ashley. You're fucking off your rocker. And none of these other motherfuckers have reports. Ashley's logic will get us all in fucking jail. Then Special Hill's testimony, as well as what is offered by the defendant, then decide if they believe the vehicle on the 1112 King Road video and other area surveillance footage is it 2014, 2015. What do you? Well, we're gonna let them. They're gonna, but you're not gonna solicit and elicit false testimony out of Imel, because Imel never said the 1112 is a Honda Elantra. I think that's the part you're missing, Ashley, is because you lied to them originally in the PCA, and then you started citing the lies in your motion in limine, you dumb bitch. That's what you did, and you're just fucking out there, man. You're out there. We'll let the jury fucking decide. Well, no shit. They will use this information to ultimately determine if this same vehicle was the defendant's Honda Elantra. And guys, let's be honest. Nobody, I couldn't tell you whose vehicle it was. Okay. In conclusion, the state respectfully requests this deny the defendant's motion and rule that the state's expert, Anthony Imel, is allowed to testify at trial in accordance with the state's expert disclosure, which includes the opinion that the vehicle captured on the 1112 King Road video shares similar class characteristics to a fifth-generation Hyundai Elantra, and he never fucking said that. So, again, Ashley, you can take your fucking motion and just wipe your ass with it. Wipe your ass. Who do you guys want to talk about next? Who's on the chopping block? Who's on the chopping block? Who's being held to the stand? Josiah Rowoff. Jeez, coming in here with bombs. What's all this crap over here? I made a spreadsheet. Let me see where this spreadsheet's at. Idaho, fact versus fiction. Okay. We'll take a look at this. Who's on the chopping block? All these motions have everything to do with, okay, so here. All right, the University of Idaho timeline. So what I did is I put the events on the left that came from the PCA, or if in a slight way, and said, okay, here's the event. Was it in the PCA? Did it get mentioned in the PCA? And then what I was trying to think of is why wouldn't it have been? So Sigma Chi, it's mentioned, and it says, basically Bethany saw Ethan and Xana until 1:45. The actual evidence, we don't fucking know. Okay. Corner Club receipts. The Corner Club receipts were not used in the PCA. It just is that they went there, but no receipts. 12/22, printed receipt, 9 vodkas. Corner Club surveillance tapes. Again, they were used in the sense because they, but they weren't specific as far as stating like a time. I think they used now the Aristocafe, it was not used in the PCA, but the actual evidence is that there's a camera there, and I'm curious of but they pulled it kind of, they're like, okay, we don't have to talk about it. The grub truck, obviously they used it. Private driver. He provided a ride at 1:56 a.m. from grub truck to 1122 King Road. What wasn't said is about Dylan texting private driver at 2:10 a.m. Arrival times home. All residents home by 2 and in bed by 4. Who the fuck gave them that? Which one of these lovely girls gave them that? And my answer is I don't think that anybody did. All residents home by 2 and in bed by 4 a.m. And that either had to come from Bethany or Dylan. Private driver, not used as far as like what type of car he drove, what I thought was interesting. So you would think that they don't mention his car. They also don't mention the car, the DoorDash. Because if they're going to be so all about like, dude, he drove a truck. Okay. So there's a big difference of a truck. And that's not, the vehicle. Because if it's such low flowing traffic and they had to put this PCA together and not use a real reason how they got to him. So why wouldn't you then be kind of talking about like, we were able to eliminate all the vehicles that came into the area. These people came forward. You know what I mean? People came forward, and people that were in the area, we were able to account for the cars. So it tells me is that not everybody did come forward, and they are not able to account for all the cars. Because I keep thinking in the back of my head, if they couldn't really put down the reason how they got to Brian Culver, which was the IGG, right? And so then therefore they have to beef up this probable cause with all this other shit to make it fucking worth a damn. Now, they didn't, Kaylee's phone activity, they don't use it in the PCA. They don't use Maddie's, right? Now, an interesting thing that we have found out that the last call was not to Jack, 253 for Maddie. Maddie calls Bethany. Dylan says Haley is up at 4 a.m. or 4:15, saying someone is here but is on second level with dog. Xana, phone activity. They used it, but only for the wrong TikTok time. Okay. 3:16 a.m. is TikTok, not 4:12 a.m. Very, very wild. Ethan, we don't have, there is, the probable cause is so bare with Ethan. Don't you think? I think it's bare a lot with the victims. Remember when I said that what's going to be interesting is that usually if it's, when we hear about somebody getting killed, the first that they go to is that person's cell phone, not somebody else's cell phone to determine when they were killed, right? But here with this case, they ignored, or I should say, didn't mention the victim's cell phones and instead used the roommate's cell phones. And now we know why. Because they went strictly off of the time of the text messaging of the roommates, because they are texting basically right after it happened. But what's interesting is every case you see on Dateline is people, the cases that make Dateline episodes, they are doing stuff like that after or before killings, right, to create false narratives. But when it comes to this case, we're just supposed to not think that that's possible. So if we actually go and look at this and write, so Dylan adds a new contact in her phone. Deleted messages, snaps, internet with dad, So Eric Gower, whatever he wants to call himself, I pulled up this old long crime. Look, Anjanette Levy did it. You guys, I'm going to pull this up. Science students, drivers break. Yeah, here it is. Okay. All right, let me just put this up for a second. I can't remember if I played this one or not.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and thanks so much for joining us here on Law and Crime. We've been working to bring you any new information on the murders of 4 students at the University of Idaho. Now we are hearing for the first time from the driver who took Kaylee Gonsalves and Maddie Mogan home that evening. He spoke to the Daily Mail exclusively and did so as long as they agreed not to identify him. This driver said, "It's not lost on me that my job was to get these girls home safe, but that didn't really help this time." He went on to say, "I had known Kaylee and Maddie and Xana too. They would occasionally get rides home, and there was nothing out of the ordinary about that night. You will recall that Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were all found stabbed to death in that home on King Road near the campus of the University of Idaho. There is no suspect at this time, and to our knowledge, the police have not recovered a murder weapon." This driver went on to say they weren't upset about anything or talking about anyone. There was no apprehension, no weird feelings there, no upsetness. There was no nervousness about them. They weren't afraid of anybody. There was nobody following them or following us. There was absolutely nothing about that ride that was different or abnormal. They were just typical sorority girls talking away, and half the time, they don't pay a whole lot of attention to us drivers. We're just kind of there doing our own thing. This driver picked up Maddie and Kaylee.
How would he know what they do or don't do with other drivers? Unless you were running part of like I said, like this is like a private driving. It's through the university. We do X, Y, and Z. So I'm waiting to find out if the girls have to pay for this service, whatnot. But I want to also know that, did he ever say and tell the police that Dylan had contacted them, had contacted him? So understand this. He went to the police the next day on Monday. Once the names were released, he went to the police the next day and told, like, oh my God. And he's like, I brought my receipts and I showed them. So I'm thinking like, wow, receipts. Like, these people were texting you. So what type of receipts do you have? If you have to go through an app, that's how it'd be. But Dylan texted and said, are you driving? Are you still driving? He had a month-old baby at the time. So if everything was normal that night, so does Dylan normally text you after you drop off the girls? You know, he mentions Xana, he mentions Maddie, he mentions Kaylee. He didn't mention Bethany or Dylan, but Dylan texted him.
Downtown in Moscow after they had left the Corner Club bar. He said that he picked them up at between 1:40 and 1:45 or so. They had their food with them. They were excited about eating mac and cheese. He said he dropped them off in front of the home, but he said he didn't watch them go in. It was only a day later or so, on Monday, the day after the homicides, that he realized he had been in that neighborhood when he heard about it. And then when he saw who the victims were, he realized he had taken Maddie and Kaylee home that evening. He said he immediately went to police and explained why he had had this interaction with them, produced a receipt showing he had gone to a Taco Bell after dropping them off, and he said that he was cleared. He also said that people in the community are living in fear and want to get more information.
Okay, so I just have to say this. Okay. But I don't give a fuck about no Taco Bell receipt at, because remember in the beginning, it was said that they were thinking that the homicides were between what times? Okay. It was never said those homicides were between 4 and 4:25. Okay. We get that when the PCA comes out. Okay. So him producing a Taco Bell receipt, just saying, at, a time that's outside of that, I'm sorry, but I don't know what that has to do with anything. So I'm curious as to what time his Taco Bell receipt was. I would have been calling the police and talking to the police, and definitely would have come out like, hey, I went back and looked at my text messages. This is what this girl said to me. This is what this girl. So then I picked her up. I was driving my white truck. Actually, you can see me turning around that Adam video. Like, that's my white truck. I was driving that white truck all night long. That I believe is his white truck. It's the same white truck that's in his driveway. It has like the black bar and everything. And then I would say, you know what? I didn't even think about it, but I didn't even realize that this girl, Dylan, lived with them. And so I found out that she was one of like the roommates, because she didn't live with them before. So I could see somebody saying that, like, I didn't realize that she even lived there. But she texted me and asked me if I was out driving still. And then I texted her back and she never got me. She never got back to me. But if he doesn't mention Dylan, how do you guys feel about that? Like, I think that'd be interesting. I don't know. My guess is that he didn't mention Dylan.
From law enforcement. Anyone with information about this case is asked to reach out to the Moscow Police Department. They are being assisted by the FBI and Idaho State Police. For law and crime.
Now, there's a lot more to that. And so I showed like JLR a little bit, but then I found, let's see, when I went and pulled up, I took a couple pictures of this back in the day. He broke his silence. Here, I'll send it to my email. We put this out like over 2 years ago. Now, in 2021, Katie became a full-time, his wife. In 2021, Katie became a full-time administrative specialist and continued handling licensing for the Moscow Police Department. Katie's other duties, so this makes sense how he would then be Santa because of Katie, his wife, working there. Oh, my husband can do it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Katie began working in licensing and doing records and shit. 2021 for the Moscow Police Department. Katie's other duties continued to include processing applications, fingerprinting, conducting background checks, and issuing or denying licenses for child care providers, taxi cab drivers, vendors, secondhand and pawn businesses, and solicitors. In the course of 2021, Katie processed, Now, you guys, you can't make this shit up. He is quoted saying, let me pull up the truck. He is quoted saying, I'm hoping they have an ironclad case. Another clad case, clad in black. I'm hoping they have an ironclad case, end quote. The driver said, I desperately hope they have this locked down. If they let this guy walk, it's a shame. They were all nice girls. They were always polite with me. They were happy, friendly girls. In my opinion, there was nothing bad about them. Why say that? They were all good employees at Mad Greek. He knew they all worked at Mad Greek and they were good employees. How does he fucking know this? It's pretty wild. The driver said he and many others in the community still feel frustrated by the messages police sent to the public early on in the investigation when they called the murders quote unquote targeted and said the community had nothing to fear. The comments about the crime were later walked back, and police said they didn't know if the house or the people inside were the targets. So he's very critical of law enforcement, which I think is interesting considering he has a wife who works for law enforcement, that he would just come out ripping, you know. Let's see. Jeez. After learning the names of the students, the driver said he went to Moscow police and provided a receipt showing he'd purchased fast food after dropping off Maddie and Kaylee, and told investigators about driving them home. I swear I wonder if he is showing them the receipt because he picked up food for Dylan. He said people online accused him of murdering the four despite police clearing him as a suspect. For some time afterward, he felt guilty because he had driven them home the night at 1:56 a.m., only to learn days later that they had been killed. He questioned whether he had been followed or if he should have done something differently. He said that he had driven Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana many times. He said the arrest affidavit stated a Washington State University police officer had identified Gower as driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra on November 29th, and another WSU officer saw the vehicle at Gower's apartment building that same day. The affidavit shows Gower was already on law enforcement's radar before the rideshare driver submitted his list to police. You guys know that he submitted a list on December 10th. Moscow and Pullman are connected by a long, winding road. The two cities are essentially like one community, with people traveling back and forth between the two. The driver said many people in Pullman travel to Moscow because the shopping options are better, and there is a grocery store and Walmart that are open 24 hours a day. You guys, listen, I'm going to tell you what he said. Now, I'm a digger. We're diggers over here. And The shit I found is wild. I have a transportation planning specialist in the state of Washington working 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Works as a transportation planning specialist for the state of Washington, and in 2022 had a reported pay of $87,000 according to public records. This is 26% higher than the average pay for the state employees and 22% higher than the national average for government employees. I don't know but listen to this. He submitted on December 10th, he drove around the area of where he lives, he says in Pullman, and he found Brian Kohlberger's white Honda Elantra. He said that he reported 10 to 15 white Honda Elantras, didn't think, he thought Brian's was too new. What? This is his interview. Is Murky still in here? Murky knows. Murky knows. Murky knows. We were losing our shit. I'll pull it up. Okay. Again, the arrest affidavit stated a Washington State University police officer had identified Kohlberger as driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra on November 29th, and another WSU officer said that the vehicle at Kohlberger's apartment, and another WSU officer saw the vehicle at Kohlberger's apartment building that same day. The affidavit shows Kohlberger was already on law enforcement's radar before the rideshare driver submitted his list to police. And I said, what the fuck? He submitted a list. And then so I'm going to read it all to you. I'm reading it. Okay. Today, the man who drove Kaylee and Maddie home has recounted his recollections of that night and claimed that the community is living in fear with little faith in MPD. Speaking on condition of anonymity, he said, I had known Kaylee and Maddie and Xana too. They would occasionally get rides home, and there was nothing out of the ordinary about that night. Surveillance footage of Kaylee and Maddie showed the girls picking up pasta at Grub Truck Mac Cheese after ending their evening out at the nearby Corner Club bar in downtown Moscow. I picked them up around 1:40, 1:45, said the driver. They had their food, and they were super excited about their mac and cheese, as girls are after they go to the club. They sat in the back, and they chatted. They were normal, just like any other night. They weren't upset about anything or talking about anyone. The driver said he was familiar with surveillance footage in which one of the girls appeared to be talking about somebody called Adam earlier that evening, but he said they didn't talk about him or any boy on that ride. Moscow police have contacted Adam, who they have described as cooperating with their investigation. According to the driver, sometimes the girls would talk about boys, but that night they were just excited about their food. There was no apprehension, no weird feelings, there's no upsetness. There was no nervousness about them. They weren't afraid of anybody. There was nobody following them or following us. There was absolutely nothing about that ride that was different or abnormal. They were just typical sorority girls talking away, and half the time they don't pay a whole lot of attention to us drivers. We're just kind of doing our thing. The driver said he didn't pull right up to the door of the girls' house, stopped instead on the street out front. He said, I just sort of pulled in front of their driveway. I didn't pull right into the parking lot. I usually try not to do that because that's an easy way to get robbed. I try to stay in positions where I can go either direction so I can get away if I have to. It's never happened, but you hear about these things. What? That doesn't even make any sense because up there, I mean, what? But on that night, he saw and felt no threat. In fact, he said, I didn't watch them go all the way in. There were the two of them. It's a relatively safe place. It's not something I would usually sit and watch. Sometimes I absolutely will ask or intervene if I feel like a kid needs help. I've taken kids to get their stomach pumped if I feel they have to. This is a college town. These kids are just trying to live their lives. We drivers try to look out for them. They don't need to be preyed on. The fact that Kaylee, Maddie, and their friends were so brutally murdered within a couple of hours of him making that drop off has the driver said weighed on him. He said, I've been driving here for years and it weighed on me. It was rough to think I was one of the last people to see them alive. When I saw the news on Monday, it occurred to me I was in that neighborhood, but that was before they'd released any names. As soon as I knew for sure it was the girls, I went to the police. He said, swiftly eliminated from inquiries, having provided officers with a wealth of digital data and the timed receipt from the Taco Bell to which he went after dropping the girls back home. In the weeks since the murders, he has watched, he said, with dismay as police have shared little information and the families of the victims have grown increasingly impatient. He said, I took about a week off of driving when I just stepped back from it all. Those kids deserve justice, and they're not getting it. It feels to this community like the police aren't even trying. It feels to this community like the police aren't even trying, which is 100% related to how they aren't communicating with the community. People are scared. Most of us have very little faith in the MPD. We can't tell if we are watching qualified investigators who have a handle on the situation or if they are completely at a loss and grasping for straws. Dude, does this sound like somebody whose fucking wife works for the police department? Moscow police have pushed back at the suggestion that inexperienced officers, the lead investigator has only been a cop for 2 years, are hampering or have already botched the investigation. No murder weapon has been recovered and no suspects named, but police are still seeking the occupants of a white 2011-2013 Hyundai Elantra with unknown license plates caught on CCTV in the area near the time of the killings. Ready? There are now 6 detectives from MPD, 62 FBI agents, 13 Idaho State Police investigators, and 15 uniformed troopers assisting with community patrols and forensic experts working through the painstaking task of processing evidence recovered from the scene. So far, all the information MPD has shared concerns parties they have eliminated from their inquiries, including the driver, the 2 surviving roommates, a hooded male seen at the grub truck surveillance video, the male they called numerous times during the early hours of the morning, anyone present at the home when 911 was called, and a 6th person named on the lease who had moved out of the home before the school year started and was not present at the time of the murders. Moscow Police Department Chief Farai defended the investigation during an appearance on News Nation Thursday. He said the investigations have been handled properly. We secured the scene quickly. We called in the state police. We did our due diligence in getting the things that we needed to do to have this be a solid case all the way through. We called in the state lab to collect evidence, and I believe it was the initial stuff that we started and how we did things that will help bring this to a conclusion. I think there's some misconceptions out there with how we operate here in Moscow, he added. We've called in ATF in the past. We've called in the FBI in the past on many of these big cases because they have resources that we don't, and we want to have the best investigators there. We've always done these investigations with the help of our federal and state partners, he said. We're continuing the investigation. We're continuing to push on. Like I said from the very beginning, I'm very confident we will have a conclusion to this timeline as things develop, and we're following up on those things now. We're conducting a lot of interviews, and we're putting the puzzle pieces together. There's a lot of things we don't know. We're not sure where the individual responsible is. Every tip helps. Earlier this week, during a Today Show interview, Shannon Gray, an attorney representing the family of Kaylee, said that the family is increasingly frustrated with the apparent lack of progress on the case. We want them to know that we are holding them accountable for their decisions. And if they are in over their heads, then acknowledge that and turn the investigation over to someone who is more versed in handling these type of matters. I'm not sure they're capable of handling a quadruple homicide. Now, then this was updated. So this interview then gets updated, and let me get this last part. Yep. He said that he drove around and he was getting rideshare driver recalls bringing Idaho4 victims home. He also said that, hold on. Okay. January 6th, he does another interview. The private driver who dropped Kaylee and Maddie off at their home near the University of Idaho campus just hours before they were stabbed to death in the early morning hours of November 13, 2020, is exceptionally glad an arrest has been made, and tells Law and Crime that he actually saw the white Honda Elantra police were looking for last month. Okay, let me. The man who did not want his name used read the affidavit charging Brian Koberger with the felony burglary. The 19-page affidavit documents. He says, the news broke last week, Friday, nearly 7-week investigation. He says, I was surprised but exceptionally glad that some form of resolution is forming. The private driver said, I feel exceptionally bad for those parents in our community. He was somewhat stunned to learn that Koberger, who maintains he did not commit the murders, lived near him in Pullman, Washington. He lived 1,200 feet from my front door. I spent 6 weeks trying to convince my wife there was not a threat, and I was wrong. The driver said, adding that his wife still fears walking their dog despite Culber's arrest. The driver spends much of his days shuttling people around town. So after the killings, he kept an eye out for the white Hyundai Elantra. He eventually spotted it at Culber's apartment building sometime after December 7th. I thought it was too new, he said of the car. Since Moscow police had asked the public for information about a 2011-2013 Elantra. However, he wrote down the car's Washington state license plate number and submitted a list of 13 or 14 Hyundai Elantras he had spotted sometime around December motherfucking 10th. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you guys know what December 10th is? December 10th is the same day that they had a fucking meeting and decided that Othram would no longer do the IGG and pack it on up and send it on over to the FBI. He submitted his tip. Let's see if he's fucking lying or not. He submitted his tip around December 10th through the Moscow Police Department tip line. The arrest affidavit stated a Washington State University police officer had identified Culber as driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra on November 29th, and another WSU officer saw the vehicle at Culber's apartment building that same day. The affidavit shows Culber was already on law enforcement's radar before the ride-share driver submitted his list to police. This is them believing that Culber was on the radar November 29th because of the way they set the PCA up. But here, the ride-share driver on December 10th is saying that he submitted 13 or 14 Hyundai Elantras that he had spotted sometime around December 10th. He went driving around. The driver says the affidavit confirmed what he suspected about the crime all along. Some of the most chilling details include the revelation that a camera from a home less than 50 feet from Xana's bedroom recorded what sounded like a whimper and a loud thud. Police have previously said some of the victims had defensive wounds, and Xana's father told a news outlet in Arizona that she had fought her attacker. The affidavit also stated a DoorDash driver had delivered food to Xana at 4 a.m. and that she was active on TikTok at 4:12 during the time the murders are believed to have occurred. I suspected, in quotes, I suspected from everything that I read that whatever happened in that house was exceptionally violent, far beyond what a scorned lover would do in regard to the sheer violence. End quote. The murders have left Moscow residents in shock and created fear among college students who once felt safe leaving their doors unlocked and walking around town. But the rideshare driver said things have changed, as women he takes home now ask him to stand in their doorway so they can check their windows and doors and look through their homes to ensure no one is there. Those are the things that had never happened in the communities of Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman, Washington until now. Moscow and Pullman are connected by a long, winding road. The two cities are essentially like one community, with people traveling back and forth between the two. The driver said many people in Pullman. Okay, so this is what I believe. All right. And so this is the same, literally exact. Okay, how do I want to say this? Okay, so this it like overtwines with like the last, because then it goes into saying that that's the same thing that was used in the last article. After learning the names of the student victims, the driver said he went to Moscow police and provided a receipt showing he'd purchased fast food after dropping off Maddie and Kaylee, and told investigators about driving them home. He said people online accused of him of murdering the four despite police clearing him as a suspect. For some time afterward, he felt guilty because he had driven them home the night at 1:56 a.m., only to learn days later that they had been killed. He questioned whether he had been followed. He questioned whether he had been followed or if he should have done something differently. He said that he had driven Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana many, many times. They were all nice girls. They were always polite with me. They were happy, friendly girls. In my opinion, there was nothing bad about them, he said. Why would he even say that? You guys, even after Colbert is arrested, he still doesn't come out and say that one of the other girls had texted me that night. The driver said he and many others in the community still feel frustrated by the messages police sent to the public early on in the investigation when they called the murderers targeted and said the community had nothing to fear. The comments about the crime were later walked back, and police said that they didn't know if the house or the people inside were the targets. I'm hoping they have an ironclad case, end quote. I desperately, desperately hope that they have this locked down. If they let this guy walk, it's a shame. Why would he be speaking of this? If they let this guy walk, it's a shame. Why would he think that? Now, he is married to somebody that works for the police department. And if the police department saw this article, they would know exactly who this was talking all this mad shit about them, which is the husband of one of their employees. This is, or is somebody trying so hard to maintain that it's not him, but really, I mean, it's weird. Anyways, that's the article. And so I about hit the floor when he said that he drove around looking for white Honda Elantras and created a list of 13 to 14 of them and turned them in on December 10th to law enforcement through the tip line. And now if I'm Ann Taylor, I'm looking and seeing if this motherfucker submitted a tip or not. Washington, he says, I thought it was too. The driver spends much of his days shuttling people around town. How do you do that if you're working all the time? How does he spend most of his days doing that? So after the killing, he works for Idaho. Then I was like, okay. So after the killings, he kept an eye out for the white Elantra. After the killings, he kept an eye out for the white Elantra. He eventually spotted it at Colbert's apartment building sometime after December 7th. I thought it was too new. How would he even know that was the one, man? What is he talking about? But you have to remember who his fucking wife is. His wifey poo, was she just running plates for him? Go around town getting all these fucking, and then she's running these plates for him? He had spotted some. You guys, I don't even have him living in Pullman. Like, I looked at his baby. What was it? The, the sex of your baby. What is it called? Fuck. Well, you know what I'm talking about. In May of 2022, they had it's a girl. And so it's clearly you could tell from the picture that it's in the front yard of his Moscow, Idaho home that he lives at. That's in May. And so when did he up and move to Pullman? Gender reveal. Yeah, why the fuck couldn't I say that? I was like, my mind went blank. So here, him saying that he lived 1,200 feet from my door. What, your work door? My door. Driver who brought Idaho victims home the night they were killed. Wild. So they have this gender reveal in May. It's not the house that, with all the pictures I looked at, all the angles I looked at, it looked like it was right there at that Moscow house. So, I thought it was too new. He said the car Moscow Police Department had the public for the information of 2011-13 Elantra. However, he wrote down the car's Washington state license plate number and submitted a list of 13 or 14 Hyundai Elantras he had spotted. Now, don't you think if you have access like your wifey poo, hey, run these plates, see what you get. Guaranteed that was happening. So, it comes back to this person. Then don't you think, like, you Google these people? No mentioning, though, that Dylan texted EG. And then he's like still pissed, and he's like, they better not let this motherfucker walk, basically, and says, I hope they have an ironclad case, just clad in black. Ironclad case, the driver said. I desperately, desperately hope they have this locked down. If they let this guy walk, it's a shame. If they let this guy walk, it's a shame. And I'm like, what? Okay. So then let's see. That's weird. I have something else. Hold on, I want to add this. So then I was looking some shit up. And all right, let's see if that works. How in the world is this guy clear? Well, he's his wife works for the police department. He's playing Santa. Okay. Oopsies. Oh, here we go. All right. So then I just double checked everything, and I was like, I think we put this out a while ago. Moscow Police Department. So she did a public speaking event. But this is 100% this fucking truck that you guys saw that night. It has the black beam or whatever, like But it's like, man, why would I ever drive this around to pick people up? That's gonna be hella on the gas. Okay. But that's in the Adam video. That black bar. This is where Eric, this is all public shit. And I was like, hot damn, right here. In addition, he coordinates work study students, volunteers, and interns. Eric, he drives all over. And do you want to know somebody that drives all over? I'll tell you, you're going to know the streets in and out, and you're going to know where all these fucking cameras are located. Eric who? Eric in Moscow and this guy they interviewed are two different people. That's what I think. That's 100% what I think. That's 150% what I think. And because there's two different Eric Gowers. Because there's an Eric that has been working for the transportation department. I'm telling you, the guy, if you're reading this shit, I will show you guys. See, she was the guest speaker from the Moscow Police Department talking about when they had this like, I don't know. Okay, look at this. They had a girl. This is the Moscow address house. That's her little pup right there. Again, this is all on their public pages. But there's a guy he's involved in transportation with Washington, and I'll pull it up. And I was like, what the fuck? It's let's see. They're both Erics. And then I said, okay, let's do a radius of 1,200 feet around the door of Brian of those apartments. And what's in a 1,200 radius? So I'll pull that up. And I was like, dude, something's up. Okay. So again, just public shit. Transportation planning specialist, state of Washington. Eric worked as a transportation planning specialist, 3 for the state of Washington, and in 2022 had a reported pay of $87,800 according to public records. This is 26% higher than the average pay. He has 18 salary records. Let's see. And I just thought, wow, like this makes more sense of somebody that's going to be like a fucking driver, right? When they say like, yeah, I drive around all day, right? So his this Eric's in Washington. He has, so there's, okay. Eric has 11 salary records for the state of Washington. Eric has 6 salary records for the University of Idaho. So I thought it was interesting. You know, not everybody starts college right away. But no, it's no, that's how he spells it. But I think there's 2 different people. My gut tells me that there's 2 different people. Or that this person is just out there. Now, Katie, she was a WSU research assistant. Eastern Washington University. Eastern Washington University is like Spokane, I believe, right? Katie worked as a research assistant for Eastern Washington University, and in 2022 had a reported pay of $400 according to public records. Research assistant. But I think that's the wrong girl. No, that's not the right one. That's the wrong one. Yeah, that's not her. Because then I tried to see if that was her, and I don't think it's her. See, but this is wild because it's the federally funded TRIO. Okay, you guys, this is fucking crazy, and I don't care. I'm going to show it to you. Send this to my fucking email. Oh, shit. This is what has me up fucking searching all this shit all the time. Because there's something weird about it. Remember what Eric is doing in school? Okay, remember Eric? He's all about this TRIO students. Okay. Well, this is interesting. Now, there could be a chance that Eric, okay, married a Katie, and then he also has a Katie as a sister. Could that be possible? So why I'm even suggesting and saying this is because if you look at this article, This is Katie, selected as E.W. McNair Scholar and awarded summer research internship. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But she is not what the girl looks like that he is, that the other one's married to, clearly, okay? But I was like, man, maybe he married a Katie and he also has a Katie as a sister, you know? Congratulations to new, selected by the, because I said, wow, look at this. The federally funded TRIO, that's what fucking he does, okay? Selects motivated and talented juniors and seniors who are first generation and low income college students and or from groups unrepresented at the doctoral level to introduce them to academia, research, and provide them with effective strategies for getting into and graduating from PhD programs. So what are the fucking odds that that's his wife? It's not his wife. His wife's blonde. So I was thinking, I'm like, dude, maybe it's his sister, but and then I was like, fucking A, man. They're clearly related. I don't give a fuck what anybody says because there's no way that this girl is involved in the same shit that her brother is doing. Or a guy that would, you would think would be the brother. The wife has blonde, longer hair. I think it makes sense. Like he married a Katie and he has a Katie as a sister. Like that's just simple. So you guys can put the two photos next to each other and, are they siblings? I believe that they are. Katie is a first-generation honors undergraduate student at Eastern Washington University, born and raised in Spokane. She graduated from Spokane Falls Community College with a transfer Associate of Arts degree in 2020. She is majoring in political science and minoring in philosophy and sociology. Her research interests range from political theory to domestic public policy concerning climate change, immigration, and homelessness. She has also demonstrated interest and conducted research regarding intersectional. Okay. She's interested in local politics and public policy and has completed an extensive research project on Washington state climate change. We look forward to accompanying Katie as her research unfolds. Leave a comment. Are you related to Are you related to the private driver? All right. Save my name, email, website. What do you think? We're just trying to settle a debate here. I think it's sister. Wait, what? Are you Eric's sister? Miss Kelly, I love you. How are you? You guys, this is wild, though. You're going to sit here and tell me that not only does the private driver, fucking listen to this, the private driver takes the girls home, gets a fucking text from Dylan. Then he plays Santa. His wife works for the police department. He decides to go drive around and find white Honda Elantras. Happens to out of the 22,000, he happens to find Brian Covers, writes it down along with 13 to 14 other ones, submits his tip allegedly on December 10th, and then does an interview and says, "You have to keep me anonymous, though." And to make sure that he stayed anonymous, just there was an off chance that he didn't, then the police department puts down Eric's name and spells it wrong and spells it Eric Gower. And how do we know that? Well, because Jonathan Lee Richards got an unredacted probable cause affidavit. How do you get that? Well, I don't know. I have my suspicions, but they have pictures. His wife, I mean, yeah, she's the blonde. Just go on his social media page. She's right there. I don't think she looks anything like this girl. Plus, her hair wouldn't have grown back that fast. I'm telling you, the girl in the picture that got the award is his sibling, in my opinion. And I would even check to see if Eric has a brother. They could possibly be transgendered. I don't know. We don't rule anything out on this channel. Everything is possible until it's proven that's not. But I'm like, damn. So Eric basically solved the case. And then he just talks hella shit on the police department. Why the fuck would you do that unless you were told to do that? To keep that there's no ties here. So talk shit about us. Wild shit, man. But what's crazy is that there's an Eric Gower that's been doing transportation for Washington. And I just know who better than they would know about the cameras. They would know everything about everything. A transportation specialist. Katie, she studied journalism. Correct. Yeah, extensions. I looked into the extensions part. I did look into the extensions part because I was looking to see where the layers were in her hair. What is your role at your company? I am currently an outreach coordinator and work in one of our target high schools throughout the academic year to support low-income, first-generation, and or high-risk students who go to college if that is their goal. I plan and facilitate several 4-day trips during the school year in addition to the 6-week summer program. I now teach classes during the summer and lead groups of students around the country. I am the chair of our alumni committee, and I am responsible for our program's annual reporting to the U.S. Department of Education. Additionally, I am working to transition to the associate director role within our project. How long have you been at your company? I am going on 7 years now. This is University of Idaho Recreation Program alumni post. This is about Eric. Let's back this up. I plan to facilitate several 4-day trips during the school year in addition to the 6-week summer program. I now teach classes during the summer and lead groups of students around the country. What is your favorite outdoor activity? What? Traveling and exploring new places. Part of why I love my job. I get to travel and show students all these new and exciting things. Some of the more notable locations include DC, New York, Nashville, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, San Juan. My job has also provided me opportunities to go rafting, ziplining, kayaking, whale watching. Thank you, Eric, for sharing with us and for doing all the great work you do in the recreation field. Dude, when does this guy have time to drive? Where did you do your internship? TRIO, Bridge, Idaho, Upward Bound. What was your role at your internship? Residential mentor? I was responsible for mentoring high school students on a wide range of topics during the Upward Bound summer program. The project spends time in Moscow and then travels to various locations across the country. I was also responsible for programming the programs. What? Programming the programs. Evening activities throughout the 6-week program. Where do you currently work? Same place. January 26th, this was January 26, 2021, University of Idaho Recreation Program Alumni Spotlight post that they did. Alumni Spotlight introducing Eric Gower. What year did you graduate? Bachelor's in Recreation in 2017. Master's in Movement and Leisure Sciences in 2019. PhD in Education in 2024. What was your favorite recreation course and why? Rec 310 and the 3-day backpack trip with Eric Lukavis. Who? Let me look that up. Run me that name. Just see who that is. Having an immersive experience in curriculum was perfect for my learning style, and immersive experience like that tied in perfectly to my career. Oh, I got you. This guy's just out there, man. You know, like, I just want to be able to have a beer with him. He'd be talking about shit. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What does this have to do with the case, though? Well, I don't know. He said he turned in fucking 13 or 14 Hyundai Elantras, and Brian's was one of them. It has a lot to do with the case. Fuck a. You know, I'm sorry, but it would be pretty stupid to drive kids around in a truck that gets shitty ass gas mileage. What does his wife drive? You know, that's just weird. You're going to get shitty ass gas. Why are you saying that you're 1,200? I mean, I can't wait till all this shit comes out. If these people really, I mean, can we really trust News Nation and Law and Crime and these people to vet their people that they're having these interviews with? For fuck's sake. Eric is not the same guy. Well, who's the guy they interviewed? Who do you think Law and Crime interviewed? Law and Crime is and that's Anjanette Levy's interview. And I wrote her and I said, I want to ask you about this interview. You don't have to get, I just want to know, did he really said that he wrote down 13 or 14 white Honda Elantras and turned them in on December 10th? And Brian's was one of them. I mean, give me a fucking break. JLR couldn't even find Brian. Fuck Eric. He couldn't. If JLR was driving around like a lunatic, couldn't find Brian. I think it's interesting that the police put his name down wrong. And I think they did that on purpose. But that means that they didn't trust. Everything else could be okay, but they didn't trust if this got into the wrong hands, that we don't want anybody knowing who the fuck truly Eric is. It's because it ties back to the police department. I gotta go. These people are nuts. This is crazy. Do you think that Law and Crime got punked because Law and Crime contacted the Eric dude that's the transportation guy and he just fucked with him? Do you think Angela Levy got fucking punked and this guy was just saying all this crazy ass shit? I mean, is that a possibility? Like, dude, do you realize I think you interviewed like a different person? I think you interviewed the Eric. Okay, we'll do one thing last. I want to do a 1,200 feet circle around this property. All right, let me share this fucking shit. Google Earth, come here. Hey, Lana, what were you doing last night? Well, I decided to take my YouTube fucking stream to fucking Pound Town over here. All right, so okay, refresh my page. All right. Click points on the map and measure the distance. I will do that. Thank you. All right. Where the fuck we at over here? Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day. Or is that fucking see this? Give me some streets. Okay. All right, 15, 1200. Okay. It winds up, so we got to be very specific here how we're going to do this. This is going to wind us up. So I want to do what was it, like 1630? Okay, got it. On it. This kid's full of shit. See how it's on a hill? See, like from over here. Just for the record, if he was technically 1200, he would have to be in the same complex. Fucking liar. These people are insane. Military Hill Park. What the fuck is this? Why is it called Military Hill Park? What is that? Okay, so I'm going to try something. I'm going to go with a different address from a different case. Roberts Road. Wait, what? Pullman Police Department, entry-level police officer. Hmm.
Simply gave up the ghost. And sometimes when you're going to be forced into a situation where diplomacy isn't going to so much help you out. Because the Bible talks about, we talked about in the Proverbs, we don't have to necessarily give people a full piece of our mind.
Sorry.
Speaking
Looking
the
for
truth in
something.
love is something that Paul called us to do, which points back to the proverb writers who said, look, understand how to say certain things, and you can avoid a whole lot of unnecessary trouble. But see, even Jesus, when we talked about Psalm 45, he had a mouth that was gifted with grace. He knew exactly how to get it said.
Get it done. Not churches. I don't know. This is wild. 1,200 feet. Churchill Downs Apartments across from Brandyway, you think? We'll take a look. They're newer. Fuck. Yeah, that's like. Very strange. There they are. There's Brian's. Just kidding. Damn. How much of weirdos. All right, guys. Who won? Is it over? There you go. Thanks, Anna. You saved me on getting a house cleaner. Thank you. Cheers. I need to go rest up. Girl, you must be exhausted. I'm fucking exhausted. 7:51, you wrote that shit. It's fucking 11. I'm fucking tired. I'm going to fucking look up some shit. Thank you so much. Ashley Jennings, peace. Jesus Christ. Ashley Jennings came to work for me. I didn't even realize that. Cheers. Lady Di, you nuts. You fucking crazy. Thy kingdom come. Thank you so much. RVing it up. Keep it rolling. Thank you. 10. Goldie B. You're a rock star. Thank you so much. Pretty sure Eric was driving the red Dodge Charger Challenger that night. He picked up the girls from the grub truck. So, same car found the next morning on a block over from what? No, that wasn't a Charger. That was like some Ford Mustang. I disagree, but Laura, yeah. If he wasn't driving the white truck, I think his wife pushed a RAV4. What you think of a RAV4? To push a fucking RAV4 after she wrecked her RAV4, she needed to get another one. She said she hit a fucking deer or an elk or some shit. Thanks, Anna. You saved me. I can have just read that. Thank you so much, Kylie. Thank you so much there. 1111, make a wish. Woo! There's a lot of third-party culprits out there. That's all I know. But there's only one person with a sheath and DNA on it, and that's Brian Koberger. But there is blood. It's unaccounted for. And then it's just more than one sample. So, that was a red Mustang. Yes, yes, yes. I just think I'm going to email Levy again and ask her if she thinks she got punked. How did she vet her source? Because I think anybody that would have brought 13 to 14 white Honda Elantras with the license plate. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I think FBI gave him this. Yeah, who knows? All right, guys, you guys rock. I'm going to go get some bed. Peace out. Sleep, sleep. Thank you again, moderators. Much love. Thank you so much, Liz. I said it earlier. Thank you so much for the $75 Cash App. And then LaDonna, Ms. Harris, $50. LaDonna, $40. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. Amazing work, relentless. And appreciate you. Appreciate you guys back. Thank you for being awesome, chat. I'm glad you guys have each other in chat, especially when I'm fucking ranting. It's good that you guys have each other. See you on the flip side. Remember, Wednesday and Thursday this week, it is deciding everything, in my opinion, for this case. I want to see the way that Hitler commands this courtroom. If he thinks that he already knows the answers before he gets to listen to anything, you know, it'll be interesting. Good night.